bit before we get moving with the conversation. We're going to be talking about what is God and the God particle, also known as Higgs Boson. We'll briefly touch on ancient civilizations since that's linked with the term God. But we'll discuss all that once the chat builds up. I'll watch the numbers in the chat. Once it builds up, we'll get onto this discussion. So how is everybody's day anyway? Say hello in the comments. Let's wait for these numbers to build up and get this conversation on the road.
So he knows. I'm in there, so you don't need to worry about. I don't need to text.
Come and say hello, everybody. Let's have a discussion together. There's a lot to talk about. Let's change some settings on my laptop to get this presentation ready. Come and say hello. Let's get this chat under the way. Today we're going to be talking about the Higgs Boson particle, also known as the God particle, discovered by CERN in 2012. And we're also going to be talking about what is God. Is God a he? Is God a she? Is God a what? Is God an extraterrestrial being? Is God both male and female? Who knows? But come and join this discussion and we'll talk about it. Come and join my channel, everybody. Let's have a chat. There's a lot to discuss. That is the symbol for CERN. CERN. Accelerating science. First observation of an incredibly rare phenomenon. Once in a trillion event seeing the CMS experiment can help probe the fundamental forces of nature. I have a funny feeling that's got something to do with the Fibonacci energy sequence. Iron recycling to illuminate the heaviest elements. A novel technique reported by researchers at ISOLD could help unlock the chemistry of super heavy elements. So they're basically talking about getting rid of all the heavy elements in a particle, which could be achieved with anti-gravity. Or should I say, that could achieve anti-gravity. Ireland becomes an associate member state of CERN. CERN's collaboration with institutes from Ireland has a long history dating back to the 1960s. Whether that means anything, I don't know. Probably does. But welcome everybody that's joined. There's a lot to discuss. I'm going to be talking about the God particle, also known as Higgs Boson. I'm going to be talking about what is God. Is God a he? Is God a she? Is God a what? Is God an extraterrestrial? What is God? First, I'd like to start off with the Higgs boson, which is the God particle. Now, it wasn't originally called the God particle when it was first discovered. It was given that name later. But it says here, what I'm looking at, the Higgs boson is an elementary particle associated with the Higgs field, an energy field that permeates the entire universe and gives mass to other fundamental particles like quarks and electrons. It was predicted in 1964 by scientists including Peter Higgs and was confirmed in 2012 by experiments at the Large Hadron Collider, or LHC, at CERN. The discovery was a crucial step in validating the standard model of particle physics. So, in 2012, what they'd done is they do what they usually do at CERN, and they created a controlled explosion. And they almost froze that explosion in time. They didn't actually freeze it, but they slowed it right down. And when they'd done that, that's when they discovered the Higgs boson particle, an elementary particle associated with the Higgs field. They say that this particular particle gives mass to all other particles like quarks and electrons. So if it gives mass to them, what accelerates that mass? Does the Higgs boson keep giving mass? Or is there another particle or another phenomenon we're not aware of that keeps accelerating that mass? It's a very, very interesting subject, that one. And to be honest with you, it can be a very dangerous thing to discover something like that. Because if they can control mass, what else are they going to be able to do? So, CERN is the European Organisation for Nuclear Research, the world's leading laboratory for particle physics. It is an intergovernmental organisation that uses the world's largest and most complex scientific instruments, like the Large Hadron Collider LHC, to study the fundamental constituents of matter and the forces that govern them. Now, the European Organisation for Nuclear Research actually had an original name. I'll find it. There it is. Right. It used to be called the European Council for Nuclear Research. And in French, that stood for, now I may be pronouncing this wrong because I don't speak French, so forgive me for anyone that does understand what these words are. It says, Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire. If that's how you pronounce it, because I'm not French, but that means European Council for Nuclear Research. So CERN is Council Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire. That's CERN, CERN. That's where they got the name from. But the abbreviations in English, European Council for Nuclear Research, is ECNR. So it's been reformed, but they're not even called that anymore. They're called the European Organisation for Nuclear Research. They've dropped the word council for organisation. Apparently, the European Council for Nuclear Research established the business itself, while the European Organisation for Nuclear Research established the organisation. The location, the main laboratory, is located in Franco-Swiss border near Geneva, Switzerland. Mission. CERN's mission is to advance the boundaries of human knowledge by performing world-class research in fundamental physics, providing unique research facilities and uniting people from across the globe in scientific collaboration. Research. Physicists and engineers at CERN seek answers to fundamental questions about the universe, such as what it is made of and how it began. This involves colliding particles at near the speed of light in powerful accelerators and analysing the results with massive detectors. Now, they already know they can speed these particles up to faster than the speed of light. They know they can, but they haven't done it. They're a little bit scared because their theory is if they speed a particle up faster than the speed of light, then the mass of the universe may fold in on itself or may explode or something. I don't think myself personally that's the case, because if you're able to speed it up faster than the speed of light, then the universe obviously lets you to do it. The universe is limitless. There is no limit in this universe. Of course, that's just my hypothesis. You can have your own. But yeah, they speed it up to about 99% of the speed of light. With some particles, some 50%, some 60%. All particles go different speeds to test different theories and do different research. But they sped one of these particles up in the Large Hadron Collider at the CERN machine under Geneva, Switzerland, at 99% the speed of light. And that's how they discovered the God particle, also known as Higgs Boson. The reason why it's called Higgs Boson is because it was discovered by someone by the name of Peter Higgs. Most things that are discovered end up with someone's last name. Look at the Kardashev scale, the intelligence/energy scale, or intelligence/energy scale for human beings. All right, that was formulated by Nikolai Kardashev. That's why it's called the Kardashev scale. So that makes sense. So, how it works, going back to the Higgs boson, the God particle, how it works. The Higgs field. Imagine a field like water that fills the universe. This is the Higgs field. So it pretty much gives the universe mass. They're using water as an example because water is one of the most heaviest elements when it's combined into a massive amount. Giving mass to particles. As particles move through the Higgs field, they interact with it. The more they interact, the more resistance they feel, and the greater their mass becomes. That's like fluctuation. So they're fluctuating in and out of deep space, producing more mass, because particles fluctuate in and out of deep space all the time. So in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this doesn't say this on the report I'm reading. In my opinion, when the Higgs boson particle gives mass to other particles, it's fluctuating in and out, creating more mass. So it's dies, regenerates, and every time it regenerates, it's creating more mass. Example, a streamlined object like a barracuda would move through water easily, while a less streamlined object like a person would have more resistance. Similarly, a particle that interacts strongly with the Higgs field has a lot of mass, while a particle that interacts weakly has less mass. Particles like photons, which have no mass, do not interact with the field at all. Now that actually makes sense, because photons are actually particles, but they're weightless particles, they're physical particles, and photons is what allows light to travel through the universe at the speed of light. Without that physical mass, light would just be absent. The Higgs boson. The Higgs boson is the smallest unit, or quantum, of the Higgs field. Detecting the Higgs boson is how scientists confirm the existence of the Higgs field. Discovery and significance. Discovery. After being predicted in 1964, the Higgs boson was discovered on July 4, 2012 by scientists at the LHC at CERN. Confirmation. The discovery of a particle with the predicted properties of the Higgs boson confirmed the existence of the Higgs field and completed the standard model of particle physics. A Nobel Prize. Peter Higgs and Franco Englert were awarded the 2013 Nobel Prize in Physics for their role in predicting the Higgs mechanism. Now, talking about the CERN Large Hadron Collider, because they also have a Small Hadron Collider, but talking about the large one, there is evidence out there that to suggest, there's only evidence out there to suggest, not proper physical evidence to outright accuse CERN of doing this, but there's evidence out that suggests that they discovered black holes, tiny little microscopic black holes inside the CERN machine. Because while they're messing around with these particles, having particles smash into each other at 99% the speed of light, some of them smash into each other and cause like tiny little supernovas, like microscopic supernovas, and it creates a black hole. And they know this. Well, in my opinion, they know this. And I have my own theories that they have been using that and creating portals out of it. And God knows what's coming through those portals. I don't even know if they know. But they probably would know some things that are coming through, because these people have been researching into the paranormal and other weird sciences for a very long time. So it would not surprise me if they already knew how to create these black holes, and now they're acting like it accidentally happened. And then when the day happens, when something comes through this black hole, we don't know what it is, and busts out of the CERN machine and starts going chaotic at us, well, then we're going to know, aren't we? But let's hope that doesn't happen. That's just all the worst case scenario type hypothesis. All right. Properties of the Higgs boson. Short-lived. The Higgs boson is very short-lived and cannot be found directly. Now, wasn't I just saying that the Higgs boson most likely fluctuates in and out of existence? Thank you so much for being on live TikTok with it. Think about that. I just said that I would not be surprised if the Higgs boson fluctuates in and out of existence like every other cell. And look what it just says right here. I'll turn the screen around. Look at that. Properties of Higgs boson. Short-lived. The Higgs boson is a very short-lived and cannot be found directly. Decay. Instead, scientists detect the Higgs boson by observing the particles it decays into. Mass. It is one of the heaviest known fundamental particles with a mass of about 125 GeV. So, they don't last in existence very long, but for mass to keep producing, there must be lots of them, and they have to keep reproducing for mass to keep reproducing. So they fluctuate in and out of existence, just like everything else in this universe. Right. Let's talk more about CERN itself and not the actual Higgs boson particle. We'll talk a little bit about CERN. Right, CERN is the European Organization for Nuclear Research, the world's leading laboratory for particle physics. It is an intergovernmental organization that uses the world's largest and most complex scientific instruments, like the Large Hadron Collider, LHC, to study the fundamental constituents of matter and the forces that govern them. Key details. Location. The main laboratory is located on the Franco-Swiss border near Geneva, Switzerland. Mission. CERN's mission is to advance the boundaries of human knowledge by performing world-class research in fundamental physics, providing unique research facilities, and uniting people from across the globe in scientific collaboration. Research. Physicists and engineers at CERN seek answers to fundamental questions about the universe, such as what it is made from and how it began. This involves colliding particles at near the speed of light in powerful accelerators and analysing the results with massive detectors. Key instrument. The flagship instrument is the Large Hadron Collider LHC, a 27-kilometre ring of superconducting magnets that is the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator. The magnet inside the Large Hadron Collider is stronger than anything you've ever known of. Discoveries and impact. Research at CERN has led to major scientific advancements, most notably the 2012 confirmation of the Higgs Boson. Beyond science, the technologies developed, there have been applications in medicine, example, PET scans, cancer treatments, and computing, including the invention of the World Wide Web. But when you look into things closer, they're acting like they created miracles. They already knew what they were doing. They created detriments to society. They are not creating stuff to save people's lives like they claim. I mean, don't get me wrong, they probably would put stuff out there that works, and that's how they cover up what they're really doing. They're trying to keep society down, just like anything else in this world. They want people to get cancer. The big pharma, the pharmaceutical industry is worth billions of dollars a year, just from chemo and radiation alone for cancer treatment. So do you really think CERN wants to cure people's cancer? They only put little things out there that works here and there, and they may release better stuff to people that are rich, but they're never going to bring something out that's going to cure people. They don't want that. They just want to make it look like they're doing research, but they're not. Well, they are doing research on how to completely destroy humanity secretly, but not the research we want. Name origin. The name CERN is an acronym derived from the French phrase, and this is in French, Conseil Européen pour la Recherche Nucléaire, European Council for Nuclear Research, which was a provisional council established in 1952 to set up the laboratory. Though its name changed in 1954 to the European Organisation for Nuclear Research, the acronym was retained, and its primary focus today is on particle physics rather than the atomic nucleus. Now, when it comes to atomic nucleus, which they were researching in 1954, if you don't know, human beings achieved anti-gravity in 1954. Isn't that a coincidence? I have a funny feeling that our friends at CERN have something to do with this. The lovely bunch of... Yeah, I'm not even bother saying that. Anyway. So, that's the God particle. Higgs Boson. Is that connected with God itself? Well, I actually think the whole universe is connected with God itself. But what I mean is the God particle something to do with the true element of God? Something to do with the essence of God? That's the next question. And also, what is God? Is God a he? Is God a she? Is God a what? Is God an extraterrestrial being? Well, I don't think the Higgs boson actually is a part of God's essence itself. I think the Higgs boson God particle is obviously a very important particle, but that gives mass to the universe. That's only one small piece of the picture. You've got antimatter. Antimatter is the reverse of matter. What feeds that? What is the particle of antimatter, if there is one? What is the particle that gives weightless electricity in the universe? What gives all of that? These are all fundamental questions where they probably do know the answers to, but they're not going to tell us directly, are they? But we can speculate, we can have a conversation about it. And that's what we're here for. And my personal hypothesis is the God particle is not God, it's just a small piece of the puzzle in the universe. But what I believe God is known as the God frequency. It's the frequency that controls the entire universe. And then we're going to dive a little bit into the God frequency right now. Now, this should be fun. I'm going to explain what I'm reading right here first, and then give you my own hypothesis on it. So it says here, the God frequency most commonly refers to the 963 Hertz frequency, which is associated with spiritual connection, awakening, and oneness. This frequency is used in meditation music to help activate the crown chakra and connect to a spiritual higher consciousness, and some sources suggest it may be healing or pain relieving properties. Now, 963, they're very interesting numbers. You can also say it the other way, 369, 963, 369. Those three numbers are very important to remember. Put 3 inside of 10, for example. You're going to end up with 3.33333333 reoccurring. It's never going to stop. Put 6 inside of 10. You're going to end up with 1.6666666666. It's never going to stop. Put 9 inside of 10. You're going to end up with 1.111111111. It's never going to stop. And they're the only three numbers that do that. In my opinion, 369 or 963 represents infinity. You know that infinity symbol you've seen looks like an 8, but it's not an 8. It's like inverted. Well, that's the infinity symbol, and I believe 369 is a representation of that. Okay. What is it and its purported benefits? Frequency 963 Hertz is often called the frequency of God or frequency of oneness. Spiritual benefits. It is used in meditation music and soundscapes to promote spiritual awareness and sense of unity. Crown chakra and pineal gland. This frequency is believed to help open or activate the crown chakra and the pineal gland. It's 1.111 or 2. Yep. Okay, so right. Other effects. Some believe that listening to 963 Hertz can have healing effects, though this is often linked to the solfeggio frequencies in general, which include 528 Hertz and 432 Hertz, with claims of stress reduction and pain relief. Right. How to use the God frequency or the 963 Hertz frequency to heal yourself. Meditation and sleep. The 963 Hertz frequency is commonly used in ambient music for meditation, sleep, or relaxation. Music and soundscapes. You can find music and videos on platforms like Spotify and YouTube that feature this frequency for a variety of purposes, such as spiritual healing, relaxation, and or general background listening. What to be aware of. While generally considered safe, some individuals might experience dizziness or uneasiness due to the intense vibrational energy. If you have a history of seizures or epilepsy, it's best to consult a doctor before using these frequencies. Now, most doctors are not going to really believe in anything you say to them anyway, because most people are blind and they believe that everything is just what it is when you walk out the door and that's it. But what they don't realize is the entire universe is made up of frequencies, and us as human beings can manipulate these frequencies. Right, so Here comes my hypothesis and what I think God is. Stay away from 432. No, don't stay away from 432. 432 is a good frequency. Here's my hypothesis on what God is. I don't think God in the Bible is real. I don't think the God in any Bible is real. I'm not saying I don't believe in God. Of course I do. But I don't believe God is what religion pictures him as. Most religions depict God as some mystical being in the sky. And this mystical being, what does he do? He creates everybody in his image, which basically says what you do all through your life is the way he created you. Okay? And then it says, if you break any of his commandments, you'll go to hell. But he loves you, remember? He will send you to the fiery pits of hell where you're going to burn forever for breaking one of those 10 commandments. But he made you in his image. So he destined you to go there. You would basically doomed to go to hell from the start anyway, according to his image. But he loves you. What a load of turkey turd. So, what's use radio? Radio, they don't use that hertz. They use hertz to hurt your brain. They use They use thick radiation. He doesn't love me. So, in my opinion, God is not what they say he is in that Bible. Okay? God, in my opinion, does exist, but God is not a he. God is not a she. God is not a what. God's not a being. No extraterrestrial being, not interdimensional, nothing. I believe in my whole heart that God is a frequency. A frequency that dominates the entire universe. I believe the whole universe is made up of an infinity amount of frequencies. And there's that one particular frequencies that dominates all those frequencies. And I believe that's what God is. And I call that God the God frequency. And no music. Oh my God. Hello, how you doing down there? How's your day? Thank you so much for joining the chat. We're having a good conversation at the moment, talking about the Higgs Boson God particle. CERN, which is the, I'll go back to where it says that. CERN, which is the European Organization for Nuclear Research. I'm also talking about what is God and what is your opinion of God. What do you think God is? Is God a he? Is God a she? Is God a what? Leave your opinions down in the comments. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you for everybody for joining. I can see people actively coming in saying hello now, jumping in and out. That's fine, but we've got some regulars. So, CERN. I have a funny feeling that they have been up to a lot of dodgy things. In my opinion, CERN is basically owned by the military-industrial complex. Or if they're not owned by them, they certainly work for them. They've been smashing particles against each other at 99% the speed of light. And they're saying that with that, they're creating new amazing things for the world, like cures for cancer and all this other shit. I don't believe it. They don't want to do that. What they want to do is see how they can benefit out of this and how they can end up an interstellar species while leaving us behind. But in saying that, how you doing? In saying that, with the Higgs Boson God particle, that's very dangerous. That's the most dangerous thing they've found so far that we're aware of. So think about the stuff they haven't told us, and I can guarantee there's lots of it. but it's the most dangerous thing that they've discovered so far that we know of. And they're saying it's a particle that gives mass to quarks and electrons and other small particles. Gives them mass. So think about that. They can manipulate a particle that gives mass to other particles. What's going to happen when they figure out a way to reverse that effect? They can start destroying particles, which means they can destroy one person's existence, like they'll never hear. It's a very, very dangerous thing what they've done. All right. Let's have a look at some more stuff. I'm just looking through some information. Just bear with me for a second. Are you liking that on TikTok? Yep, thought so. I've got this video up on TikTok at the moment too. I've got a friend helping me. So if you're on TikTok and you see it, you better find it there too. We're talking about lots of things. Now let's dive into God a little bit more and religion. Let's ignore the fact that in my hypothesis that God is a frequency. Let's dive more into religion and ancient civilizations and compare the two. In my opinion, religion got all their ideas from a time that happened hundreds of thousands of years before religion even existed. Some people in religion believe in young earth creationism. Yeah, yours is broadcasting. Vince Romano 3680. Well, that's your YouTube name. Put your TikTok link down there so people can find it on TikTok if they want to. So, in my personal hypothesis, my personal opinion, every religion on the planet got their ideas from an ancient time that happened thousands upon thousands of years before religion's even thought of. And this theory is starting to gain more acceptance around the globe because people are doing their own research. They're sick of the government lying to them. COVID done that. I mean, people were checking into stuff about the government lying well before COVID, but COVID woke a lot more people up, and people started putting in their own research, and people are starting to discover that religion is bullshit. I'm not trying to swerve people away from their own religion or push people away from their own beliefs. That's fine. You can believe that. I'm just saying, in my personal opinion, religion is bullshit. There was a much more ancient time. 450,000 years ago, there was this extraterrestrial species. Now, this is all hypothesis. There was this extraterrestrial species that came down to Earth known as the Atlanteans. Some people know them as the Anunnakis, but Anunnaki is a general term of a collective of extraterrestrial species. Us human beings are Anunnakis. We're a part of that collective. But I believe 450,000 years ago, the Atlanteans came down to Earth. They came down here to mine gold to repair the atmosphere on their home planet, Nibiru. There was another species down here with them, another type of Anunnaki called the Igigi. I-G-I-G-I. Igigi. They were the working class civilization, got paid in women and gold. Now, they had a nuclear war, or two nuclear wars to be more specific, with the Atlanteans. And after the second nuclear war, the Gigi's up and left the solar system, according to the stories. Have to keep reminding AI this is a hypothesis. This doesn't necessarily reflect my true opinions or reviews or beliefs. But, yeah, so the Gigi's left the solar system after having two nuclear wars with the Atlanteans, and the Atlanteans were stuck here to do the work on their own. Now, the way the story goes is the Garden of Eden was real, But the Garden of Eden was a highly advanced, basically like a scientific lab, pretty much, where they genetically engineered human beings. Was by splicing the DNA of an already hominid that existed on Earth already, called the Homo erectus, and they spliced the DNA with Atlantean DNA and genetically engineered us human beings, known as Homo sapiens. Now, the way the story goes, the Atlanteans masqueraded over human beings. They masqueraded over human beings as like they were gods, but gods with a lowercase g. You have to keep that in perspective. They're not actually gods with an uppercase G because they're flesh and bone just like us. They only masqueraded like as gods because we were much less advanced than them. So they masqueraded like gods, and they felt like they're entitled to because they're the ones that created us, apparently. Now, when you take that in perspective, it does make sense about the carvings in stone and metal. Because human beings would have been carving scriptures into stones and metal so they could leave history behind. Hang on 1 second. Someone asked me a question. If they're in the chat, I can answer the question right here. If they're not in the chat, I'm going to have to inbox them. All you need is a webcam to go, or like an inbuilt webcam on a laptop or on a phone, pretty much like a smartphone, to go live on YouTube to answer your question. Let me know if that's answered if you're watching this live. Right, so where was I? Oh, yeah, that's right. So I believe that the human beings carved stuff like scriptures into stone to leave messages behind for us. And I also believe that the Anunnakis or the Atlanteans, some of them done that as well. Because I don't believe all of them were evil. I don't believe all of them were out masquerading over us. I think that some of them wanted the better good for us. It's like any species or any race. You get good people, you get bad people. And so religion likes to claim the tablets for themselves and likes to put their own meanings on it for themselves. But all they're doing is just grabbing information and then changing it for their own benefit. When religion very first started, in my opinion, was when they seen something very miraculous in the sky, like some type of explosion. Theory is it could have been an interaction. This is just a theory. The timelines, in my opinion, are way off, so I don't believe this one. What I'm about to tell you, I believe did happen, but I believe a lot longer ago. One of the theories is that Mars had an interaction with another planet that went through, and that's what caused that massive scar on Mars, is an electrical scar. And they reckon that's what started religion. But I don't believe that. I believe it was the Draco reptilians. I believe they came down here and filled the void after the Atlanteans left Earth, and they're the ones that reshaped humanity with religion. That's just my opinion. So going back to God, we're getting off subject a little bit. God in the Bible is a misconception. It's a lie, in my opinion. They got that from the story of the Anunnakis, aka the Atlanteans, from a much more ancient time. A lot older than what the Bible says. Now, don't get me wrong, though. The Bible has a lot of knowledgeable information on it. You can learn a lot in the Bible. You can learn a lot of spiritual information in there. If someone read the whole entire Bible from front to back, you would understand it a lot more. And understand there's a lot of knowledge to gain from that. But it's mixed with a lot of misinformation and disinformation and lies. That's the biggest problem with it. All right, so What's your opinion on God? What is the God frequency? Do you believe in the God frequency? What's your opinion on CERN? What do you have to say about CERN discovering the Higgs Boson particle? What's your opinion on all of that? I'd like to hear your opinion. I'd like to know what you've got to say. All right, I'm going to be back later on tonight with another video. I'd just like to discuss the Higgs Boson particle. If I keep talking about it, I'm just going to be repeating myself. I don't want to do that. I'll come back with another subject later on, and I hope to see everybody back here. I'm going to keep making content. This channel is just getting started. I'm mainly on TikTok, but at the moment I've got a ban on TikTok, so I've got to do this on YouTube. But I'm sticking around on YouTube, so being banned on TikTok is probably a blessing in disguise. Alright, I'm going to see you all in the next video, and I hope you all have an amazing day. And I'll be back real soon. See ya.